Make some real noise. Let every single thing in the forest know that there's a big, strong, scary thing that's not afraid of anything right where you are. Hey, it's Greg here with Outdoors on the Cheap, and I'm out here in the woods doing some fishing for a couple days, and it's dusk, I guess. The sun is sort of set, but there's still some light. And it got me to thinking of a question, or even it was a video request of a friend of mine. He said, well, what would you tell people to keep their fear under control when they're out in the woods overnight? And that's a situation I've been many times, and even experienced people get that fear, right? You're in your tent and you hear a noise. What's that noise, right? What is it? So, I'm not in a situation this evening where I really have any problems. I'm staying in a cabin, that sort of thing. So, I'm not to say a bear can't get in a cabin if it wants to, but generally speaking, you got some walls around you. It's not quite so scary. But most of the time when I'm in the woods, especially when I was younger and I was doing this sort of thing way more often, I would just have a lean-to set up. I didn't like tents. I always felt like a tent was like packaging. That is to say, I'm the meat, the tent is the package. I didn't like tents because I can't see what's out there. You're kind of confined. It's, some people like not being able to see what's out there. For me, I always liked knowing what was sort of facing me. So I'd have something, a tarp behind me, and I'd have a fire in front of me, and I'd be sleeping about, a pace or two away from a fire. And I'd have the fire just sort of going all night and just slowly burning. Now, you can't do that all year, and there's times of the year you can't have a fire going because there's burning restrictions and stuff like that. But I like to have a fire, and I liked the open feeling. That way, if I heard a noise and I opened my eyes, I could sort of see what was around me. Right? Put your flame. You usually have a headlamp on. I'd have a headlamp around my neck like this, So I'd be asleep, but if something woke me up, I could click it on and just have a look around. Okay, everything's okay. Go back to sleep, right? But another trick. So that really depends on your psychology. Some people just like to feel closed in. It makes them feel safe. For me, it was more scary to be closed in. I like to see everything that's out there, and I like to see the fire. There's something about the fire that makes you feel safe. And I did that many, many, many times in places where there's black bear. In Nova Scotia, we've got black bears. Never had a problem. Who knows what walked by that fire while I was asleep, but I was always okay. But another great little trick is to just bring a radio with you. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And put it on like one of those channels where people are talking all the time, and just put it on low. I don't know if this is true, but I think animals are afraid of human beings, and the sound of human beings talking probably scare them away. It's always been something I do. So sometimes I like to have just the silence, and I can hear the sound of nature. Like you can hear right now, I can hear a little bit of wind, the crackling of the fire, and there's a little brook just a stone's throw away. I can hear that trickling around. It's just beautiful, right? But it can be comforting to just hear another human voice. Also, I can't help but think that if an animal hears a human being talking, I don't really know how smart they are, but they must, human beings have been hunting and killing animals for a very, very long time. And if there's a person talking, that, it really means there's two people. So my guess is that even large predatory animals, and I can only speak to my context here in Nova Scotia, where really the only thing we've got here that can take you out is a black bear. I don't think they like the sound of a human voice. I think they're afraid of it, and I think they stay away from it. Even if that's not true, just believing it gives me a false confidence, I suppose. Also, just having that thing to focus on, right? Someone's telling a story, someone's, relating information. You don't want to listen to news when you're out in the woods, but maybe it's some, I like to listen to CBC radio. Often in the evenings, they'll have the stuff that people don't want to listen to during the day. It's usually some intellectual telling, some great epiphany that he's realized or whatever. Also, nowadays you can get ones like this, right, where you can stick a SD card in and listen to podcasts. You could even listen to maritime gardening. But you can listen to a podcast while you're out in the woods. or listen to an audio book while you're out in the woods, right? Have something like that going on. It's still going to be a human voice, right? So that's, you know, another trick I use. But yeah, so for me, it's like being near a fire. Worst comes to worst, you got a radio, turn that on, get some human voices going. For me, that's all I've ever really needed. That's how I do it. If the worst comes to worst, I mean, there's been a few times where I've really felt like I've heard something, like absolutely, I've woken up and I don't know if I've dreamed a loud animal noise or there actually was one. You really can't, I mean, if you go to sleep in the forest, you have weird dreams, right? You dream that there's a bear trying to get into your tent. You dream there's a bear rummaging through your stuff because it's on your mind. It's probably the last thing you were thinking about before you fell asleep. So you have dreams about stuff like that. So the few times I felt like that's happened, I wake up, you're wide awake, your heart's beating because you think there's a man-eating predator nearby. And all I really do is let out a primal, I make the biggest predator, animal, man sound I can make. You know, a big roar. You know, the biggest, most giant, big animal. I'm not going to do it here on the camera because I don't want to be famous for being the guy that does that. But the biggest, most guttural, most powerful animal noise you can make. You know, let one of those go, and then let another one go, and then let another one go. Make some real noise. Let every single thing in the forest know that there's a big, strong, scary thing that's not afraid of anything right where you are. I don't know if it scares anything away, but man, you feel powerful because you're making some serious noise. And it gets it out of you, you know, it just shakes all that anxiety out. You're just like, okay, you know, so it's not, I don't do that every time I go in the woods, but there's been times when I've done that because I've thought, what else can I do to send a message to the things that are out here that I'm not to be trifled with, even though I'm just a guy. I really am just a bag of meat, really. The only weapon I've got is this little knife. I really can't do much, you know, to defend myself if a black bear wanted to get a piece of me. But anyway, that's what I do. You know, I'd be interested to see in the comments, what do you do? You know, and don't put lame things in the comments, like, I carry my Smith & Wesson, my Glock 9, and my, you know, whatever, you know, like, I don't want to hear about that, you know. That's a cheap, easy answer. I go into the woods armed to the teeth. And by the way, you can't shoot anything when you're asleep. You know, if a bear's going to kill you, yeah, he's going to come at you when you're asleep. So, I mean, a lot of these, the idea that bringing a handgun or some other thing like that into the woods is protection for you, that assumes that you're awake when you're being attacked. Right? Maybe you're not, right? It's not necessarily the protection you think it is. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble here, so I think I'll wrap it up. Anyway, I wanted to shoot some fishing videos while I was out here, but man, you wouldn't believe how difficult it is to shoot a fishing video. Really, you need a second guy to, you know, hold the camera and stuff like that. It's virtually impossible to shoot fishing videos when you're out in the woods. Right. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. And until next time, enjoy the outdoors on the cheap. Thanks for watching.